good morning, good morning. Happy new week, everybody. It's fantastic to be back in the live seat after a relaxing weekend at home. We worked pretty much 2 weeks straight last week because we had the retreat weekend. So it was all go, 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 go. And it was wonderful to just come back and, just defuzz the head the last 3 days and be back on board this morning. So excited. I've been to my PT. I have been doing this detox program and I'm smashing it out. And this morning, I thought, why not talk a little bit about how I create content and how do I, so basically I've kind of come as a clean slate. I've been thinking the last 2 days what I wanted to talk about this morning. Good morning, neighbor. Literally I haven't come up with anything. So I go, well, why don't I actually reverse engineer the process of how I come up with content to write about when I'm not sure, like I need to write a blog piece, or I need to do a live stream like on a Monday morning, which happens every Monday after Monday for the last 5 years or something. Good morning, Kayleen. So let me just do the share, you guys, before we get into it, because it's 9 a.m. our official start, and then I'm going to go into, if any of you guys are going to stick around and watch this for the whole half an hour, can you please take notes for me? Because what this will do is it can create that step-by-step system or the ideas or the suggestions that I will make as we go through the content today, right? So that'll be kind of cool. So that, after that, it can become a blog piece. I can expand it and write on it. So let's see how we go. All right, so let me do the share in the last couple of weeks. Good morning, Adrian. I am refreshed. I have been doing this detox thing the last 7 days. It's like 23 days. And you guys, I feel like I'm on speed, right? Talk about natural drugs or whatever it is, I'm feeling really good, but also I've had a few days off, and not like last weekend, obviously we were doing the retreat. So it's been really, really good. And I've got this block of time at home for 3 weeks where I've found this time that I could do this program to just reset the body and all that kind of stuff. So I'm feeling good, and I'm sticking to it, and I'm so happy and grateful that I have all the mindset tricks and tips of when I want to be naughty and cheap, but everything's going amazing. All right, good morning, Megan. Great to see you as well. All right, so how the hell do I create content? As I said to you guys, in the shower today, doing my hair, putting my makeup on, I was like, what do I want to talk about today? And I often get stuck with this. When you sometimes need to release a regular piece of value to people, right? Because at the end of the day, the first thing, I guess, step one is, how can what I'm going to say add value to someone? And the second thing that I think about, I hope someone's taking notes, is how can I make it practical? Okay, so my personality and style of teaching people stuff is to give them steps, is to give them something that's going to be practical and they can implement. Because whenever I've been on webinars, seminars, live streams myself, I listen and I will take notes, but I'm always looking for the actionable steps, because it's all well and good for us to feel good mindset-wise and all that kind of stuff, but I always go, how can I give people some actions, or how can I receive some actions that I can improve my life, my business, my lifestyle, whatever it is? How can I be a better parent? All that sort of stuff. So I love, see, this program that I've been on, the detox program, has these big tick boxes along the day. It's very prescriptive, and I just absolutely love that because I can follow the steps. And that's, if you want a part of my recipe for success, is really to be a good at following recipes, and not necessarily food ones, because as most of you will know, I don't cook. Thankfully, Stuart's doing this thing with me, so I've got the support and we're doing amazing. But following recipes, I guess I can follow recipes in anything that I want to get an outcome in. So when we're thinking about creating content is how can is this going to add value to my audience? And how can I give them some practical steps that they can action, because they will have invested 5-10 minutes either watching my reading my blog piece or watching me on live for half an hour or being on my webinar. When they walk away from this, what is it that they can do? Yeah, what is it that they can do? And then I go, okay, so the next step is, yeah, I don't have to cook, thank God, Megan. Well, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and Stuart and I have worked that out, and we just plan our strengths and then outsource the rest of the stuff. All right, so the next thing I think about is, all right, so what's happening? Because obviously us entrepreneurs and what we do and who we help generally comes, and it's very closely connected to what's going on in our life, how we have solved problems for ourselves that other people now see in us that they want the solutions to. So often in my half-day workshop, I share the question that you should be asking yourself is, what do other people see in me that they want for themselves? Yeah. Or when people say to you, how do you do that? Yeah. And so then I look at things that I may have been struggling in my everyday life or something that I have overcome, and I go, okay, that was kind of frustrating, but I'm at the other end of it, and I'll build the content around perhaps the story of what had happened. When last year, an example, or whatever's going on in my life. For example, last year when I went away with Mum on a cruise for 10 days, after I came from the cruise, my Monday morning live was called The Business of Cruising, right? And it was all about the observations I made on this 10-day trip of how they run the business and how their systems work and how we can then relate that back to our own businesses. And I created a 10-step content piece of what cruise line ships do in the business and how that kind of relates and how awesome it is. And so if you want to look it up, just I think on YouTube, put Natasa Denman, The Business of Cruising, and you'll probably be able to find that live. But that was like still all fresh in my head. So as I go along, I keep my either notebook. I like to write stuff down with, handwritten, but the next best thing is our phones are always near us. So you can open up a notes section in your device and content ideas, right? So throughout this week, also after I do this live, for example, this morning I go into my secret Ultimate 48 Author Mastermind group and I do like a weekly Q&A. Now, again, every week I want to mix it up. I want to bring a new piece of content in there. So what I take notes on is the commonly asked and frequently asked questions from my authors that keep hitting my inbox throughout the week. And I go, gee, a lot of people are struggling with this, or they're asking me a lot of questions. So that next Monday, my content piece is ready. And generally throughout a week, I can come up with a couple of pieces so that when I sit down here on Monday, I'm not thinking about what am I going to talk about. I just open up my notes and go, oh, yeah, that's what they have kept asking, and then I deliver that content. So watch out for frequently asked questions, right? Good morning, Louise. So watch out for frequently asked questions of what people ask you all of the time. So whether it's within your client base or people that you're out and about networking with, or people who are messaging you through your website or asking, FAQs are the biggest gold mine when it comes to content creation and system creation, right? So then you can obviously, I do the 10 to 12 minute live in my secret group, but what I then do is I neatly organize this in an author resource library. So the next time I'm asked the same question, which I can guarantee comes up time and time again, I can just plug that 10-minute live into my answer on an email and say, hey, watch this. It goes into a lot of detail in answering this question, because you know what, guys, we get tendinitis from typing a lot. So do your best to have the systems and the FAQs really, really answered, so that so that you're just building on them, that you're not creating everything from scratch and giving answers over and over and repeating yourself, right? So that's more within the business. Let's not kind of come outside, because I'm kind of obviously today going on tangents. This is why I said I've come with no notes, unprepared. I'm just kind of going through my head. Okay, so that's what I would do. That's why that's important. And that's what my brain and how I think and make decisions, and how I make my life easier by working smarter and not harder, and not having to repeat things over and over. So then let's flip over to, say, a live like this today. these lives on Monday mornings are not necessarily anything to do with authoring or writing a book for the first time and all that. It's pretty much small business owner, mompreneur, you know, doing her thing and just kind of reverse engineering the steps, because often people do ask me a lot of questions. When you have achieved a certain level of success in a particular area of life, you are going to get asked a lot of questions. How did you do that? How do you manage, you know, your 3 kids? How do you juggle the household? How do you go interstate without feeling guilty? How do you get bums on seats in other cities when you don't have any network in those areas? You know, how, you know, people often want to ask because they go, why do people ask you those things? Because they want to reverse engineer. How would that apply for them so that they can do it, so they can get the same answer? That's modeling success, right? And so when I sit down or I think about content for, say, these Monday mornings, or I want to write a random blog piece or a random post on social media that I feel would add value, that, as I said, I'll rewind back the clock of what I said in the beginning. Will this be, another question I ask myself, if I read this post or listened to this live, would I get value from it if it was me 5 or 6 months ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, depending on where I was at, right? So, of course, every time I'm creating content, I'm talking to the past version of me. Every time I'm creating content, I'm talking to the past version of me. I'm giving her the solutions. I'm giving her the wisdom, right? And yes, people out there, they're going to have the same problems that I did, because often people who come on these lives, they go, oh my God, this message, it was like it was custom created for me today. Oh my God, I so needed to hear this today. Thank you so much. Or they message me and all that kind of stuff. So don't worry too much about other people. That's what I'm saying is, what would you give yourself as advice once you have achieved a solution to a problem you had? Because I bet you there's people out there having the exact same problems and the exact same challenges. We're not too dissimilar from one another. So I think about that, and then I get my little notebook out. If it's kind of like a really, really fast thing that I've got to just pull together and jump on live, if I want to keep a structure to it, I will either do bullet point, or I'll do here's your 5, 7, 10 steps, whatever it is. And then by seeing the steps, and once you've been, if you haven't spoken for regularly, of course, you're not going to be as fluent, and you know, don't need as many notes and stories and all that sort of stuff. If you're just starting out, of course, you might want to put your dot points plus the story of how you're going to explain and illustrate each of the points as an example, right? But once you speak for a lot, you've done 1,000 lives, you've done 1,000 events, I'm not, thousands a lot, but even if you've done 100 of each of those things, you will become a lot more proficient, and you won't need as many notes, and you'll be able to think on the spot, right? I was the girl who didn't speak English before the age of 14. I was the girl who also thought that I couldn't think on my feet, that I couldn't, you know, I would need to memorize a speech before I would deliver. And I used to seriously memorize when I was on the debating team in high school and all that sort of stuff. And even starting out in business, some of you guys know when my early videos, when I was recording them, because I thought I would and a lot of the time, I recorded my voice, and I had put my headphones in my ears and hid everything behind my hair, and actually recorded my first few videos with me repeating my voice from my ear, because it was pre-recorded. I sound like an absolute robot. And I often show this at my retreat just to show people where someone can start. And then you watch me today, or when I see myself probably in 5 years' time, I'll think today was crap, right? But at any one point in time, we're doing and think what we're doing is the best that we can do, and we're happy with that, and you just have to keep going. And then when you look back, you can go, wow, check out this growth, right? So I'm always thinking about, back to the thing. So you put the dot points and any stories. And when you're thinking about story, guys, you don't have to write like whole sentences, especially if you're delivering content live. Of course, if you're writing the content, still unpack it. I call that in our books, our authors call that the chapter unpack system, but unpacking content for a live, for a keynote, for a blog piece, it's very similar. do all your dot points so you get the structure down, back it up with your stories, because people learn through stories, not just through, you know, just like dry content and concepts and all that kind of stuff. And then start to build the bulk around it, whether it's through a live or whether it's through whatever way you're executing that content. And think about it. Spread it in all sorts of shapes and forms. This live gets taken down, like extracted from Facebook, obviously stays on Facebook, but I share it obviously in a couple of groups, not just my my personal profile. It goes into the Ultimate Business Support and Author Your Way to Riches groups, as well as my virtual assistant then posts it up on my YouTube channel. She then extracts the audio, she puts it as a podcast as well. So it's kind of like it's being shared. If I could transcribe it and release it as a blog piece, I don't do that part, but that's just another idea of what you can do and how you can spread it out in many different ways. So I think about my past self, and I kind of look at my everyday life, like, you know, is there something interesting that triggered a thought process that I can then reverse engineer for people, to give them an example of how I handled it and all that sort of stuff. So content is not just like about, you know, reading, you know, and you can get actually inspiration if you really feel stuck. Here's another step and practical thing to do, is just go and watch, you know, 3 or 4, 5 to 10 minute YouTube videos on your expertise, on whatever it is that you feel you want to speak about, but you just kind of feel stuck for ideas. I'm not saying copy other people's content. I'm just saying get your creative juices flowing, get an idea, and then put your opinion and your examples and your stuff around it so that it is unique to you. Because again, when we read, when I feel the most content rich, or I don't feel that, you know, oh God, there's nothing in my brain kind of feeling, I often it's at times when I'm learning more. Yeah, so if I've been to a seminar, if I've read a book, if I've watched someone else's lives, if I've, you know, been exposed to content, so kind of content breeds content. If I've been exposed to content that inspires me, then I'll make a sense out of something. I'll pull one thing out of it and I'll expand it on, you know, kind of drill down on it myself. So that's another way of just getting the creative juices flowing and starting to come up with some ideas. If I am on holidays, I take my notebook with me, and I will generally have, say, a 2-hour session just when I feel like it, not because I have to, but I will get my notebook out and I'll just start writing out a title for an idea. I'll get an idea. I'll just sit there and I go, okay, so what are the areas of my business or what my life that I'm, you know, doing okay in, that I could reverse engineer these steps and then share them with my audience and all that kind of stuff. So I start writing the topic, then the steps underneath it, and I can quite easily, you know, come up with 10 to 12 content pieces with the sub ideas that I would discuss. So last year on the cruise that I mentioned earlier on the call, is I spent a couple of sessions just drilling down some ideas, and I came up with 26 of these Monday morning lives. And now, not every Monday morning do I feel like speaking about one of those 26. So if I'm inspired by something else, I'll talk about something else. If not, I'll look through the 26 and see which one I feel like speaking about, right? So when you're writing content, you also have to be kind of, just because you've come up with the idea 3 or 4 months ago, doesn't mean that you are going to, you know, feel like talking about it on a specific day. That's what I hate. Like, I don't like I create the structure, but then I don't like having to execute it in the order I created it, because maybe that day I don't really feel like writing that blog piece. I'm not really feeling aligned with that message or whatever it is. So that's why having 26 is awesome. I go, okay, well, yeah, maybe that, yeah, maybe not that, maybe nothing of this, but at least I've got some backup and ideas that will jig my memory and go, oh, okay, I'm going to talk about that one today. So that's another thing to do. It is like do a cluster of ideas of what you have, and then you know, drop them down on holidays, so that you're not, you know, the moment when you have to come up with something, you're not stuck. You at least have that, you know, plan B if nothing that week has inspired you, or that moment when you want to create that content. So planning is great, but allow flexibility in what you're going to deliver and how you're going to do it. And you know, and there's also different ways and amounts. I love the fact that nothing has to be structured like a military operation. Yes, Zelda. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. And I've been like that since day one. I mean, a lot of you guys view me as quite organized, consistent, you know, having systems, having steps and all that kind of stuff. And that's fantastic, and so should every business. If you're going to run a smooth operation and a well-oiled machine, you need to have that real, you know, step by step, and a little bit like, you know, within the business. But outside of it, or when I'm wanting to add value to the audience, I need to be inspired myself about something that I'm gonna speak about. There's the core signature stuff that happens quite, you know, like an operation, as you say, Zelda. But then there's the other side of you that can, you know, when we're talking about social, we're talking about blogging, we're talking about, you know, creating, like, you know, those little content pieces that will add value and keep engaging your audience. I think that can happen a little bit more organically. You know, there's time for structure, and there's time for, you know, just doing what you feel like. And for me, this Monday morning live, as much as I'll add value to you guys, and as much as I like to connect and be consistent and keep building and nurturing the relationships that I have, it is really important for me also. This Jumpstop starts my week. I've just been on, you know, like kind of total chill out mode the last 3 days. And for me, I do it as much for me as I do it for my audience, because it makes me feel like I'm now, this is my official start. I feel inspired. I've spoken. It's as if I've done a mini workshop. I haven't had to leave my home. And this keeps building also my library of resources, my YouTube channel, everything. Like, people come and say, oh my God, I've been on your Monday morning lives for months, and they never comment, or they never, or whatever. They don't do stuff where I would recognize that they're there. And then they come into my workshop and then end up being a client, and I go, where did you come from? They go, oh my God, I've been on your Monday morning calls for 2 or 3 years, or whatever it is, and I watch them, or whatever it is. So you never know who's watching, you never know who's listening, but have an intention and a purpose also. As much as I write the books to help other people, as much as I do it, you know, so we can, you know, so the business can remain sustainable, and we're building the brand and legacy and all that kind of stuff, and a business that I'm hoping one of my children will want to run in, you know, years to come. At the same time, I'm doing for me, my business in my entertainment. I'm so entertained by what I do. It is so creative. I just love it. I just kind of think, you know, if I created this for me not to do events, like let's say I was just online, just like I'm right now. I said to my husband, I go, you know, events are like not for the lighthearted. You got to get on planes, you got to go to venues, you got to set up, unset up, and all this sort of stuff. You know, so many people are moving to online kind of stuff nowadays, and then I stop and I go, what the hell am I going to do if I'm just online? I mean, I know I can make money online and all that sort of stuff. We're not going to show the press, right? So you got to know your personality. So as much as I'm doing this to help other people, this is helping me remain on purpose, remain happy, remain fulfilled, remain, you know, like I'm making a difference and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, it's got to be a win-win. It can't just be for the one reason or the other. And money is only a tiny little vehicle that motivates a person within a business, because if it's the whole thing, you just become exhausted and absolutely hate getting up in the morning. I was just so excited it was Monday. Like by the end of yesterday, I was like, okay, enough laying around, watching shows, watching movies with the family. Like to get up and get on with it, and you know, see people, interact with people, and all that kind of stuff. All right, let me think about a couple of other tips to give you as we're coming now towards them. And I hope someone was taking some notes on this. Will be really useful. Like, basically, because I came with no notes today, my notepad is completely empty. Hey guys, guess what? Actually, your content will evolve. And that's what happened recently. Well, none of you guys actually have not told many people this, but I actually rewrote the Ultimate 48-Hour Author book recently, and I republished it from scratch. And tomorrow we are going to be running a special with the downloadable ebook. So watch out for that. We're creating like a campaign today, and we're going to come up with it all tomorrow. It's really, really exciting. It's all out, completely rewritten. I actually thought that I would like second edition, just touch up stuff, cut and paste, leave lots of things in and all that sort of stuff. No. I rewrote the whole thing. I basically looked at it and I go, this is me 5-6 years ago. I said, this system and how I teach people has so many other intricate details that I could add on and share and expand on that I wouldn't do it justice if I copied and pasted paragraphs and put them in. So I basically scratched it. I did it in 3 days. I rewrote, actually typed up this one. And then it's been published for like a couple of months. I haven't told anyone yet because, of course, I wanted to move through my stock of the first edition, which I have just done that. So yeah, it's interesting how when you write books and as time goes on, I'm not in a rush to release something or whatever. I want to time everything accordingly so that it fits in with the business model. But the content that you write today is going to be different to the one you've written 5 years ago. And the more you write and the more you create, the better you become at it. There's nothing, every single skill a person wants to perfect or get better at, it only happens with action. So the being comes with the doing. You want to be a great person on lives, on video, on writing blogs and all that sort of stuff, you have to do. The being comes with the doing, right? You have to do. So that's why practical steps, pull out your phone, write notes in terms of when content ideas come to you, listen to your frequently asked questions from your customers, create content around that. Look at your life. What metaphorical stories or examples of what's happening that you have overcome can you actually use within your content that you can deliver to people? That's also, maybe I won't finish reading the last edition. Zala, finish it, because then you can compare the two, because there's still relevant stuff. I don't, I wouldn't have never given out my first one to people if I didn't think it was relevant. It's kind of like a foundational one, and you then read the next revised version and you get even better or more ideas from it. So you can, tomorrow you'll be able to download the next version of it as I do the promotional stuff. So wait for that. Yeah, so think about what do other people see in you that they want for themselves? What's something that's going to add value and going to give your audience practical steps that they can follow? What are the stories that back up those steps that you can, because people learn through stories. So what can you share that is going to give people them, those actions that they can take? Because if someone just watches you and goes, okay, so this is the outcome she's got, I want that within my life or business, you ain't going to do it unless you ask very detailed questions as to how that person does it. Often we tend to see the end result with someone and not and kind of go, make up the steps in our head. But if you really want to model excellence in a particular area that someone does, make sure you ask them a lot of specific questions of how they make their decisions, what are the actual steps in between the start and the end point, and then try to replicate that. So guys, if you have any more questions around this, because it was a total random idea. Again, it's like, what do I talk about today in the shower, doing my hair? I go, well, how do I create content? Maybe that should be the content piece. How do I create content? How do I think about it? What questions do I ask myself? What do I ponder on? And how do I sometimes prepare and get organized? Obviously on holidays, just when your brain is on holidays and more spontaneous, content ideas flow out of you, as well as, of course, consuming content yourself, so that you get some, the creative juices flowing and enjoy and learn something for yourself anyway. I love when I've got the time to read a book and pull out some of the action steps, or pull out one line that I can like recently, I think I did the Leader with No Title by Robin Sharma. So about a couple of Mondays ago when I did the live, it was like my insights from that book. So I highlighted like 4 or 5 lines that really stood out for me, and then I delivered and executed what that meant for me, and how I could, you know, sort of unpack that, the wisdom that he was sharing. He could have meant something completely different, but I just wanted to say it in my own words, in terms of, you know, how I picked it up. So that could be even another way of, you know, hey, this is what I read. You kind of like digesting the information for people who maybe haven't read that particular book or whatever it is. So, you know, from one line I could go, wow, yeah, that made a, you know, penny dropping moment. Let's create a content piece around that. So there are many different tools of what you can do, how you can, you know, find information. Oh, and the last thing I'm going to say is continue studying and learning within your expertise. So I continue to read books on writing books, books on creating content, books on the publishing industry. So I keep learning and listening and doing stuff that is within my expertise. I don't think I know it all. So when I learn more and I'll go, oh, that person had an awesome idea. Let's make that fit into how we do some. So I'm picking up lots of ideas from there. So ultimately, that's what people hire us for, is to, as an expert, that you have digested the information through either finishing a degree, doing a PhD or whatever it is, or life experience, or just doing the stuff and helping lots of people along the process. So people are paying us for the shortcut of the amount of time that it has taken us to digest the information and to bring it, you know, on a nice silver platter for them, or provide the service to solve that particular problem, which in my business is helping first-time authors publish their books as easily, effortlessly, and of course ultimately profitably for their businesses. Fiona saying, love the idea of the brain dump and then be able to choose at the specific moment, as I'm not one for being locked into specifics. I usually go intuitive, but this gives me a good range of focus. Excellent. So there was lots of practical ideas now shared during this call. You know, what you should be doing. Keep getting better at what you do. Drill it right down, you guys. Focus, focus, focus is what gets you to success. It's not lack of ideas that is the problem in this world. It's actually lack of focus. So keep the focus, but have that creativity as you go through your everyday day, and notice stuff. Keep noticing and being present and taking down those ideas. Mwah. All right, guys, I gotta go into my authors group, do my weekly Q&A, and then get this week on the roll. Have an amazing week, and boom, smash it out. Bye, guys.